We are live. Hey guys, it's RJ. Um, I'm here to talk with a couple people. It's going to be really fun. I have Brian, their fearless HFPod on tour leader. Brian Brinkman is going to be here in a second, and we also have Ryan Storm who's joining us. So we have two guests today to talk about what Brian said was the most insane concert experience of my life, of my entire life. Sorry. Um, all right, so we're gonna get into this. This is pretty wild. I have a lot of questions, but I guess I'll just start by adding Brian. Hi, Brian. How's it going, man? Can you hear
RJ,
me,
how are
Brian?
you?
Good. I'm good. Look at you. You got a professional setup, even though you're on the road. You never stop.
I never stop. I don't want to stop. Um,
Can't
I'm going to
stop.
apologize in advance for potential connection issues. I've got to imagine that the Wi-Fi in this hotel I'm staying in is not top notch, but I can hear you loud and clear, so we're good.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, so I'm just gonna let a couple people show up here. I guess we can bring in Ryan too. Ryan, how's it going, Ryan? Ryan Storm. I think
I'm great.
people
I'm literally
go.
on the road.
Where are you? Where are you? And where are you going?
My dad and I are currently driving from Chula Vista to LA.
Okay.
So
All
we're
right.
on the road.
So you're gonna go see this band again?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Wow. Unheard
Tonight
of.
tonight is my 10th show and my dad's 50th.
Okay. All right. That's awesome, man.
Those are big
Um,
numbers.
that's great. Okay. So I don't even know where to start. Brian, can we just start with maybe we should just start with what you said, which was this was the most insane concert experience of my entire life. Would tell us about the lead up and how you got into the show. I know you sent me a picture right before that you were there. You were on the rail. So what was you traveled from Phoenix, right? Out there, and how'd you end up so close?
Yeah, I traveled from Phoenix to Chula with a friend of the pod, Ben Greenfield, on Twitter at G4JOPT. Great dude. Both of us taking time off from dad responsibilities to see fish and drive across the desert. Perfect way to do it. We had pit tickets and we kind of figured, we'd go over around the time of doors and just see what was possible. And I think just the luck of being in the Southwest, a lot of tickets on the ground, a lot of tickets available. We were able to get pretty close in line. We were really lucky with where our number was called. We were about 25 people back from the first person called, so we were able to get through kind of the initial group of people and just walked right up. And we both, kind of agreed as we get close to the stage, let's try to get as great as seats as possible. And I saw people starting to file to the front. Some people start to get seats kind of like right in between Mike and Trey, a few rows back. And I saw something just available right on the rail, right to the right of Mike. And we just took it and we held that spot. And I didn't move for 6 hours. And it was the best place I've ever seen the band. The sound was amazing. The lights. I was telling Ryan before we went live. I kind of felt like I was going to sacrifice the light show being that close, but like it was amazing to see the mechanics of Kuroda's rig.
Yeah.
The visual aspect of it still came through in that sense, and I felt the whole night like I was watching a band rehearsal. It was really really special and just a really unique place to see a show. I highly recommend it.
The last time I was on the rail was Mexico, Saturday night in Mexico last year, and it's a really interesting place to see its show. It was easier in Mexico because I have to always leave to go to the bathroom, but I'm very incredibly impressed that you didn't leave for 6 hours. Ryan, where were you guys, and how was your experience before the show?
Sorry if I'm losing you. I think you said that you were on the rail. What an
Yeah, I was
idyllic
just
place to see fish
yeah,
on the rail.
certainly easier than an amphitheater in the U.S. to get around.
Right.
I think Ryan might be having some connection issues. So Brian, let's just tell what they start off. They come out. They open up with Fluffhead, and Like you said, I mean, the whole first set to me, I actually want to talk about this because I'm curious about what this means for Halloween, which is probably nothing. But it seems like they just come out and they're just like you said, it's just practice. Um, what did you think when they started with Fluffhead and kind of just like unfinished into NICU? That's the first 20 minutes of the show. It's just me, guys. Oh my goodness. All right, Brian's gonna come back whenever he can. People watching, send me send me comments because now it's just I'm the only one with a connection. The So an unfinished Fluffhead, first of all, into NICU, which ends up being 20 minutes or something like that, which is totally insane. Um, I guess the question is, Ryan's back. Ryan, we're gonna bring you in.
Hi, sorry about that.
It's all good. So I was just Brian's reconnecting. Unfinished unfinished Fluffhead into NICU. That's the first. Those two songs are, I don't know, what, 40 minutes or something. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Where were you guys sitting, and how did you feel about that start to the show? Did it feel
So-
different or what from anything you've seen?
Yeah, but before I just want to say we drove past a bridge where somebody had put up like a sheet that said "Thank you, fish" on it.
Nice.
So that was cool.
Awesome. That's great.
So we were up section 303, I think it was, right in the middle, up there with a great crew from Fish Twitter, and amazing sight line of the stage, great sound, and so we were ready. And my dad actually called the Fluffhead opener, which was really cool.
Nice.
That was the arrival section of Fluffhead is the happiest moment in music, so it can't be bad. And then there was kind of a very patient vibe to start off the arrival jam, and then Trey started doing his like minor rhythm vamp thing, and we looked at each other like, oh my god, like they're jamming it. And that's the first one since Alpine 99, I think, that kind of went out there a little bit. And I think before the show we were talking about whether they were going to play NICU or whether it was one of those things where it was like too obvious of like a joke to go for. But of course they did it, and it was just it was really, really cool. Those two opening songs, and seeing like the jams are here, like we saw in the first set in Phoenix as well, the Soul Planet hitting almost 20 minutes in the third song. But I feel like last night the jams were just even better than they were in Arizona. And Fishman just continues to be the behind everything, and continues to absolutely dominate every jam. And it was just it was an incredible way to start the show. You're muted.
The unfinished Fluffhead is quite a way to start. Really incredible. That 35 minutes of music, and then into Bye Bye Foot, which at this point, I don't know. I mean, they last played it in 2019, but it's a rarity for sure. And at this point, what are you thinking about the set? I mean, how are you guys feeling about this show at that point?
Incredible so far. I was thinking that maybe they were gonna throw in the Fluffhead reprise at some point in the rest of the show. But they had sound checked Bye Bye Foot yesterday, so I thought we might be getting that. And I really enjoyed the song. I thought it was great. Not a song I've listened to very often.
Yeah.
But it's great, and it's an example of Fishman actually trying to write a serious song instead of going the ass-handed route, which was cool.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, we lost you for a sec there, but you an unfinished Fluffhead is a pretty outrageous way to start a show. And that first 35 minutes or so between those two songs, I mean, if you'd said that there would be an unfinished Fluffhead into a 18-minute NICU, I mean, it's pretty outrageous. So Brian, I guess you mentioned earlier that it was like watching the band practice. I feel like that kind of started with the Tab tour. Like once the horns dropped out of Tab, it just became like Trey's extended jam practice. They seem to have like fully got into that at this point with Fish.
Yeah, I was thinking about it a lot last night. I mean, I've been thinking about the whole tour. The show that we saw in San Francisco, I thought was very similarly structured in the sense that uh, it almost feels like Fish Shuffle. Like they've taken the idea of a set list and where do certain songs go and where do certain songs get placed and what happens at certain moments in the show. When do jams typically happen versus when do we just play three or four songs in a row and showcase the songs as themselves. And it feels as though they've thrown that approach completely out the window. And the focus of the band right now seems to just be technology is working for them. They are communicating with each other at a very quick and rapid way. And someone throws out an idea, someone else picks up on it immediately. The hay exercises of the past in a lot of ways feel like that they have come back. But a lot of lessons around like building songs and building melodies kind of on the fly. From my interpretation, like built over 10 years of high quality songwriting, all of that's kind of come to the fore in the live show. And as a result, the shows have a much more relaxed rehearsal type feel, similar to what you were saying about the tab shows, where they're just playing. It doesn't seem like there's an intentionality to put on a specific type of show, and that looseness is really catering to the sound that they're currently playing in and the quality of these overall shows.
And I just want to say the people watching, please insert your comments. We want to see them and talk about them. One thing about the San Francisco show, which is not the show we're talking about, but the Bathtub Gin, I've noticed even before Fall Tour as part of summer, like there's no Bathtub Gin really part of it. It just like it starts as Bathtub Gin and then it just becomes a jam. It feels like, I don't know, Ryan, you're a musician. It feels like they're taking these songs like the Frankie Says from San Francisco or like most songs from last night. They take the song to start, but then where they go with it as not really like doesn't have to have anything to do with the song. It's really like a long sound check or something, or a long like late night set from a festival, which I was thinking about this morning. And Ryan, I don't know if you feel like when you're listening to these songs, do you hear them using the songs to do anything besides just get to a jam, which they can do pretty quickly at this point?
I think the point you're making is perfectly evidenced by what keeps happening to Soul Planet, which is just Trey keeps cutting verses and turns around the chorus. And, in Phoenix, I was struck by the song's like 2.5 minutes long now. Like there's no Page solo anymore. He just jumps right into the Ocean Is Love part and then into the jam. And I think, I don't know. I don't recall a time where the band has been, recently at least, where the band has been this eager to jam every song always. Even if it's, and they're packing so much into such, a short amount of time. Like last night's No Men was 15 minutes or whatever and had something like 5 modulations in it. And the Piper from last night, I swore it was like 25 minutes and it was only like 17
I mean,
or 18. So it's,
they're
do it all.
Outrageous.
It's a really interesting point. I just want to pick up on it really quickly that you're making, Ryan, that like, I kind of get the idea, and I felt it with Fluffhead when it started to jam, that they're almost like providing challenges to themselves to see like, can we jam this song? Like they opened up that Eugene show with Down with Disease. We've heard a lot of Down with Disease openers through the years that are 8 to 10 minute, just a type 1 raging opener. Everybody loves it. It sets the tone for the show, but they approached it like they were opening the second set. The next night, Energy and Mr. Completely, got the show started with 2 back-to-back jams. It felt like last night, like we're going to open with Fluffhead, which is already going to be a special thing in and of itself. It has huge significance just in that placement as a show opener. But then we're just going to challenge ourselves to see if we can jam it. And once they were able to jam Fluffhead, all bets were off in terms of what could happen for every other song that's played. Free hasn't jammed in years and went into a full type 2 jam. And I feel like they're just feeling so high on the ability to just get to a really quality jam that the songs, you said this last week, RJ, the songs almost don't matter as much. They're just a vehicle to get to another jam, and it kind of provides a challenge of, can we jam this song? Can we jam this song? Can we do this? Like I almost expected than to try to jam Bye Bye Foot last night, you know?
Right. I mean, the crazy thing is like Phoenix, which we, you were there and we haven't talked about it yet, but at least in Phoenix they played a lot of songs, right? They played My Friend,
Yeah.
they played Bouncin', they played More, they played Loving Cup, like they played Life Beyond a Dream, like they played songs. Like last night, it seems like the only real song they played was Joy. Like everything else was just like a really long jam. I mean, it's kind of amazing. And I do, reflecting on like Alive Again and all the conversations we got to have with Trey, it's like he loves songs, obviously, and he loves writing songs and playing songs. But do you think that it's like the kind of getting comfortable and being back to playing live shows after so long? Or what do you think is making Trey particularly like not really focus on like, oh, I would like to play this particular song, but really just get into improv? Like, we obviously have no idea, but what are your hypotheses?
Yeah. Based on where I was sitting, I had a conversation with the band last night, like mid-show, and got all the answers I've ever wanted.
They were playing for you.
It felt that way. I walked out being like, that is it. I was thinking about this, not to go back to our San Francisco show, but it's tied to this. Like, I was thinking about this at the show. You and I are both big proponents of the wingsuit set, and I know that it's a very controversial set for a lot of reasons, but I think we both love that set for both what was played, as well as the impact that it had on the band, as well as the challenge that they took upon themselves. And I was thinking during the show last week, and the thought came upon me during last night's show as well, that they used this process of writing 75 songs over the last 10 years, 80 songs that they've debuted. I've lost track at this point in time, but like 5 or 6 albums worth of songs, and really creative songs, and songs that like went way beyond the norm of what you would expect from Phish, all the way to like a song like Thread that is such a nod to, early Genesis and like their biggest influences, in a way that like I have to imagine as a band entering their 30th year, it kind of helped them to reset how they communicated with each other and how they listened to each other. And I almost think that the songs, for as amazing as I think some of the best songs that Phish has ever written have come in the last 10 years, just like pure songs, but that the exercises of writing those songs, of collaborating in that way, has gotten them to the point where they can jam with complete ease. And so I almost think like this reverse of Trey wrote all these songs, Mike's written a ton of songs, Paige has written a ton of songs. The songs dominated for so long, but the songs have also like opened up a kind of portal for the band to experiment, because they just understand intuitively where the other person is going to take an idea, and how to get themselves out of dead ends. And I almost think about it in the sense of like the way that they tightened things up in the late 80s and early 90s, which led to this explosion of improvisation in 1993 and 1994. That like that tightening process had to release itself somehow, and it ultimately released itself in what many people consider the best, 5-year run of Phish, 5 or 6 year run of Phish. And you're now seeing that to a certain degree 2 decades later, 3 decades later, in a way that nobody anticipated, but it all comes out of like writing songs. That's at least my takeaway from it.
Sorry. You got to have the songs to depart from the songs, kind
right,
of a thing,
right?
Which is interesting. Yeah. What do you think? We should get back to the show last night, but just because we haven't talked about the last 2 nights, and we usually talk about most Phish shows. What do you think? Does this mean anything to you for Halloween?
I think Halloween's gonna be awesome. I don't know, like.
Yeah, that's a good prediction.
I don't know, like. Whatever they're working on is clearly working in the same manner that I think the Casvo Vox songs worked in 2018.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's a good comparison. Yeah. and we'll know later, you know. I mean, obviously, we'll look back and
Well,
be like,
that's going to
oh,
be the
okay,
fascinating thing is in 3 weeks, we're going to look back and be like, oh, wow, those jams made a lot of sense in hindsight.
yeah.
And
Well, it's
yeah.
unless it's like 2013 where it doesn't at all, and it's like, you know, they're playing Allman Brothers 2 nights before, so clearly that's happening, and then then you get the wingsuit set. Everyone watching, thanks for your comments. Let us know if you have Halloween predictions. We have a couple more shows before we get there, but you know, it's coming up. Adam posted, you can see it on the screen, family doc. Thanks, Adam. Thanks everybody for tuning in and just supporting what we do. It's you know, I'm solo parenting this weekend. Brian's on the road in between shows, and you know, I'm not going to say it's difficult to do this show, but it definitely, you know, takes some planning and a little bit of television and or you know, Wi-Fi or whatever. So we appreciate knowing that you guys are out there listening. So Brian, what okay, so we left off sort of at an ICU, but
yeah.
So then the Tube is a monster jam. There's a Llama, the Rise come together. I mean, it kind of was all one big set, and actually, I think only one official comma in there in the first set, which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts at set break? What were your reflections at that point?
I mean, I'm on a really good streak of seeing Fish shows right now, and I'm really risking like getting into just like a hyperbolic area. So like 3 of the last 4 shows I've seen have been some of my favorite Fish shows ever, and that's Dick's Night 3, San Francisco Night 1, and last night in Chula Vista. I was just kind of in shock. Like I was talking with Ben at set break, and he had a friend who joined us who has seen Fish probably 8 or 9 times, but does not do the crazy obsessive listening and talking about Fish that we do, which probably is for the best, you know, for his own mental health and
definitely.
And
I don't count myself in that group.
But he was like, Ben and I kind of turned around and looked at him at set break, and we had like kind of wide eyes, and he was like, was that a good set? And I was trying to explain it to someone who's not like that. Those are the best seats I've ever had at a Fish show and probably ever will have. You know, a lot of things had to work out to sit there. I would have taken the most standard recital Fish set ever, songs I never want to hear, you know, whatever. Write a Fish show that nobody listens to after the fact, and I would have taken that because it would have just been an amazing experience to watch the band and see them communicate and see like the production of the show that close up. To then get a first set that they played songs, but it doesn't feel like they needed to play songs because everything was just an opportunity to get a jam. Bye Bye Foot was played once in 2019, but before that was 1997. I heard Ryan talking about it as I was kind of figuring out Wi-Fi on my end. It's one of my favorite Fishman songs ever. It's just like, it's a beautiful, just like such a sweet ballad and sweet message. And like the way the band has played ballads throughout this tour and this year have been some of my favorite aspects of 2021 Fish. So like all these things combined, I was just like, I don't even know what to do at this point anymore. I don't even know how to like analyze this because it's just all so good. And to have a set that good from that vantage point was, you dream of it. Like it's, I don't even know if I ever have dreamed of it. Like this was just like the right place, right time, amazing show. So I was elevated like 10 feet above the ground, and I just turned around and looked at the rest of the venue for all of set break and just kind of like sat there with my thoughts and took it in. I was
That's great. That's great. That's a good way to be. And then the second set was kind of, you know, more of the same in an outrageous way, in that there was at least four big jams out of 6 songs. Surprisingly, the sand was kind of short. I think they were probably just trying to figure it out, and then Trey kind of took it into Piper, which happens. But what was your take on the second set? I mean, what were your overall kind of thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you sometimes see, especially like throughout a lot of 3.0, when they came out and played just like a high-end first set, sometimes they would lose a little bit of steam at set break and wouldn't totally know the direction to take the set in. And I kind of felt like after that first set, whatever comes next is I'm good with it at this point in time. But I thought they strung together really good song selections. We got the first No Men's of the tour, went to some really cool jam spaces. When it went into free, I kind of figured, okay, like the hijinks, the exploration, whatever is probably behind us. Like maybe we'll get a good jam, but like um, it's hard to like bottle all that energy for 90 minutes, take a break, and then come back and do it again. And when they started playing the NICU riff and kind of Trey started distorting it, I was like, here we go again. And I'm trying to recall the last time that Free jammed like that. And in the moment, I mean, obviously there's 11/22/95. I think that there's a 97 version that I'm blanking on. There were a lot of versions that like expanded upon the theme of Free for like 12 to 15 minutes, but not a lot that went into just completely type 2 territory. So that was a pretty shocking moment. I felt when they came down with that, like there was probably going to be a ballad there, and Joy is one of those songs that really kind of speaks to early 3.0 Fish and kind of where Trey's head was at. And it
Yeah.
felt to me like that combined with a fluff head opener with this like very loose, jammy set, it just felt like a toss back to like, remember in 2009 when like we were just figuring this all out again, like here's where we are 12 years later. And I felt it was an appropriate song midway through the set. And then, yeah, Sand, Piper was incredible. Piper just got right back to that jam space that we had been in throughout the first set and seemed to like add an exclamation point to the overall show. And then going into Sense with an intro, I think it was the first time I've seen Sense with an intro since the first time I saw Sense and Subtle Sounds, which was July 18th, 2003. So that was really special.
Wow. That's really cool. And totally unconventional kind of song choice in terms of opener closer, at least in that sense. And that's been kind of throughout the tour. Did you expect to enjoy myself encore? Because I always do, but I definitely would have last night.
It's funny, like ever since you were pushing it very hard at San Francisco, clearly whatever you were saying to the band wasn't working at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
I expected it actually in Phoenix. It kind of had the feeling of like a set where they'll close with a 20-minute You Enjoy Myself, and it really puts like a capstone on the overall show. I didn't know what to expect last night. I'd be surprised if we don't see Tweezer You Enjoy Myself tonight, but like maybe they're just holding all of those until last night in Vegas or something. I have no idea. They seem to intentionally be holding those songs back.
Yeah, it's a good point, and they seem to be holding Tweezer for sure. Like you would expect Tweezer in Phoenix, you would expect Tweezer last night. We'll see about tonight. No reason why a Sunday night at the Forum, why it couldn't happen. That was so Chula Vista. They have a history there, and it played some shows. I mean, probably the best show there besides last night was maybe 03. As part of that summer 03 show, or maybe there was a 2016. I mean, this was the best show they played at Chula Vista, though, right?
I think so. There's the 9/18/99 show where they play.
Oh, right.
I think that's the first show at Chula where they play that 20-minute Boogie on Reggae Woman. They opened the show with a Tweezer, and it's just a really phenomenal 99 show. I think it was officially released. I love that show. I remember listening to it a ton when I was first getting into Fish. The 2016 tour closer was really, really high quality, and there were a lot of people there last night that I talked to that this was their first time seeing Fish since that show. They live in Southern California. They just don't have, Fish hadn't done a Southwest tour in really since that tour, since 2016, since they came through there. And so, it was a lot of people who were seeing Fish for the first time, and that show was really high quality. But last night was like, I don't know. Last night was kind of a show that you would expect to hear on the East Coast, and to have it be in a venue where tickets are on the ground, there was a lot of space up front. I looked back and there were like rows in the pavilion that were not occupied. It was definitely like an undersold show, but it was a very high energy show to then play like that. That's kind of a classic Fish move.
Yeah, I mean there's also been, I mean, there's been the kind of, there was the tragedy, at San Francisco night 2. There's a
Yeah.
lot of travel. They're going up and back, and I mean there's a chance that they might, not that anyone's moving beyond like, horrible shit happening, but they might just be getting like a little more comfortable with this tour and kind of settling in for the last little leg. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, I think and Ryan's comment on the screen there, you can all see that he dropped out. It was great to have him for a bit. We'll have him back again. The Forum typically, like they have, I might be wrong. They have yet to play an amazing show at the Forum, I would say.
I would
maybe
agree.
Is that fair? I mean, even that was the tour opener in 03, right? That they played there, which has like
and
nice...
it's got like a great gin. It's got a really good fee, a really good Walls of the Cave. But like compared to the higher points of the tour, it doesn't necessarily end the year. It doesn't stand out as much. It feels kind of like a tour opener, but I do enjoy it. The Forum is weird. I went to the Forum in 2018, and it is one of my favorite places I've ever seen Fish. It is an old, 70s arena. It feels in some cases like Madison Square Garden, but without ads anywhere. There's like the seats are red, the interior like drapes behind the walls are red. Like it just has like a very 70s, 80s American vibe. And it's the type of place that they should absolutely crush. And the shows I saw in 2018 had moments, but they were not in any way like what you would anticipate when you're seeing Fish in one of the kind of biggest arenas in America.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, we're not, we shouldn't make predictions, but I would expect like some good hijinks and maybe some, some weirdness, but also just like, they're obviously having fun. It's a Sunday night. They have a short trip last night. I'm sure they're going to be ready to rock. I think it's going to be an amazing show. I think, hopping on at Phoenix and doing Phoenix, Chula Vista, LA, like I think if you had thought about that based on previous tours, you'd be like, that'd be okay, But you've caught two like really incredible shows so far.
Yeah, when I bought these tickets originally, I figured I was going to see just Fish, good show. I was really kind of doing it just for the average grade. I was really doing it just for like Vegas was going to be a production to get there, and I kind of figured these are lower, like off the beaten path type of shows, a little bit easier to get there, easier to get tickets. I really wanted to do just like a fall drive through the desert, and I just wanted to break from reality, and so like I thought these 3 shows would be the perfect way to do that while seeing some Fish. And coming out of Phoenix, I definitely felt really good. Soul Planet was amazing. The Everything's Right was a really fascinating jam that I need to go back and do a little bit of a closer listen to. But again, like last night was just one of those shows that everything kind of came together in a way that, this, I get very, very anxious before a Fish show. And I kind of just like, I knew I had a ticket that was going to get me close to the band. And I just like, I went with the movement of the crowd, and I found myself where I was at. And I was just like, this is everything I've been wanting that was my 81st show. This is everything I've been wanting for 20 years and across 80
It's really
shows.
cool. It's good to surrender to the flow and end up on the rail, It's a good place to be.
Yeah, and I should probably try to approach a little bit more, I guess.
yeah. I'm telling you, it works. And Tim Wheaton says, never miss a Sunday show. I've heard someone say that before, and it seems to be fairly accurate. So I'm glad you're not missing the Sunday show. What was your?
Me too.
We didn't talk about the encore. I've really come to love Lonely Trip. Got to see it once this past tour. What was your favorite moment of the night?
The overall night, there was a moment during Tube when, you know, they've jammed Tube really well over the last 4 or 5 years, basically since the Chula Vista show in 2016.
Yep.
That was the first. Did they jam Tube? Yes. I saw a really great version at Dick's. I saw a really great version in Vegas a couple years ago. They've expanded on that middle part of the jam, but there was a point last night where they stepped like, you know, 2 or 3 modulations away from Tube, and it just felt like complete open-ended musical exploration. And it was the one moment that I turned around and looked at the, you know, behind me throughout the whole show. The whole night I was just like, my wife sent me a picture of me on the webcast, and I was the only person just
no, you got it. That's awesome.
Leaning over the railing, just like mouth agape, just like looking at the band, just like I don't think I moved for most of the show, but I turned around because like the music they were playing, it sounded kind of like the jam from the Simple and Catapult at Dick's, and just the way the lights were going, like it just looked like the venue was just kind of like going through like an earthquake in and of itself. Which apparently we had one, a minor one last night. I didn't feel it. I was out cold, but. Like that moment, it hit me that like I'm having this incredible experience like right here in front of the band, but whatever they're playing is hitting everybody in this entire venue, and the entire place was losing their mind over the music, and that kind of like elevated the experience a little bit more. The only thing I would add is, you know, Lonely Trip, beautiful encore, one of my favorite new songs this year, and First Tube up close. Definitely like seeing Trey really put everything into that rock star mindset that he has. It's one thing to see it, you know, in the larger arena, and like it's him playing out his like 70s arena rock fantasies, but like to like see him go through that process of like getting his pedals right and then getting out close to the crowd and like really working the middle part of the crowd up and then going back and, you know, doing the guitar above his head, the Jedi move. Like it was just awesome.
That's really cool, man. I'm so glad you got to see that show. And when you sent me the photo before the show of like being up close, I was like, wow, this is going to be. And this is like a tour where it's almost definitely not going to be like a, you know, kind of a Saturday night special, as they say, like running through songs.
Right.
Like they're not at that moment. They're not like at there right now.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like we're so far into the tour that this is the theme of the tour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this approach to kind of deconstructing their songs and deconstructing the ideas of a Fish set kind of seems to be the larger goal and the larger theme that they have.
Yep.
I kept thinking like, you know, I told you at one point, like I have no words. I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, I don't even know if I made any sense here in the last 30 seconds.
I think you did.
50 seconds. But
I mean, our listeners can tell us, but I liked it.
I just kept like pulling an RJB, and just every time they do something, I just, wow.
Wow.
Like, I have nothing more.
The
just
easiest
like,
way
wow.
to do
Like, I can't believe you're doing this right now.
So, all right. The last thing is there's tonight in LA, and then there's Santa Barbara, and then 4 shows in Vegas. Do you have any predictions about Halloween?
You know, I kind of made my dream album for Fish to play, always has been, is Another Green World by Brian Eno. And I think that the tones that the band are playing in, they would absolutely nail the record. And the songs on the album have such a kind of looseness and an open-ended nature to them that the band would have the ability to jam them pretty easily, and it could turn into a really incredible Halloween. You think of like the Loaded set, where every single song was double the length of what it was on the record. Like you could hear that from this right now. Hell, they basically played the Big Ship during the MSG Tweezer back in 2019. So that's my dream. As we get deeper into it, like the tour, I'm getting a sense that they're not going to play just a cover album. I'm getting the sense that the goal of that what's happening right now is the result of continued creativity. And so I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know how you top inventing a band that made a surprise album in Greenland and then disappeared forever, and it happened to be Fish's favorite album to listen to when they were starting the band. Like, I don't know how you top that conception. but I'm guessing that they have a way to do it. And so if I had to guess right now, it's going to be new material that they are just absolutely stoked on. And it's part of the reason that we're hearing such high quality improv and such high quality deconstruction of their sets. Do you have a prediction? What are you feeling like?
I wouldn't disagree with any of that. I think Brad and I talked about this yesterday a little bit, and he had a similar feeling. I kind of do too. I mean, I feel like the covering albums thing is like maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just not part of Halloween anymore. You know what I mean? Like it was for a long time, and it was the expectation. I think Chilling Thrilling really like set the course for what Halloween was to them moving forward. Although the Bowie was, a totally different, back to that. But I feel like, after Wingsuit, they sort of like, if they were going to do new material, it had to be like a production. And that's what Brad said. Like maybe, there's if they do original material, it's going to be a production. I mean, either way, it's going to be a production. But the way they're playing makes me think that there's something happening. And I don't think it's like Pink Floyd or anything else that's influencing them. I think it's themselves, but we'll find out in a few days. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, there's been a lot of chatter about metal because it turns 50 on Halloween this year, and man, if they wanted to do that, like I think if they wanted to take just the straight up cover approach and reinterpret that album, like you'd be hard pressed to pick a better album for the way that they sound right now. It feels very obvious to me, and it feels like the type of thing that the band wouldn't do. The one thing I will say, sorry, last thing, I was gonna say this, but like I became so overwhelmed by the entire evening that I completely forgot until just now. As I was walking in, those posters that are online, the like printout of like the four guys' pictures from when they were in college that says like, I think it says PSH on it or something.
Yeah,
it's floating around
I saw
online.
Chop tweet that yesterday. Yeah.
It was taped to one of the banisters as I was walking in, like just randomly. I didn't see it anywhere else. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is like, it's starting to appear everywhere. And if it ends up being like a hint of, where the band is going for Halloween, it will be like this kind of cool embedded joke that which is totally something that they would do.
Yeah, it's true. And we don't know if it's like one of you pranksters who's watching this right now and laughing or not. I don't think it's Susie who says hi from your kids. But I do think there's something, it's cool. I mean, it's cool to have these like things happening that you don't know where they come from or who's behind it. And, it's going to be a really fun several days. So that's all we really know.
It seems like the fishiest thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, all bets are off, man. I think if you're predicting anything, which I've asked you to do and I've asked everyone to do, it's really just like a losing game. So I'm sorry for setting you up like that.
I went through enough of I was on the boat where they were going to play the Residents album in 2018, and that did not happen.
Oh my god!
I should definitely give a shout out here to Wallace and Ingrid and give you guys a big I love you. I'll see you tomorrow.
But first, fish.
But first, fish.
I hope you have a great show. Thanks everybody for listening and tuning in. We are brought to you by Shift Genuine Cannabis. We have 2 live shows over the Halloween run. On the 30th and 31st, we'll be at the Brooklyn Bowl, Las Vegas, doing a live show with I'll be with Brad and Matt and some special guests. It's going to be really fun. 1:00 local time. If you're going to be in Vegas, 1:00 is not too early to come down to Brooklyn Bowl and have a drink and have some food. And also the fan art show is happening at the same time the first day. So come to Brooklyn Bowl, hang out, say hi. And I guess that's everything. I'll be back tomorrow, Brian. You're going to be on your way back, but we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do this tomorrow. I'm really excited to hear what happens tonight as Fish transitions to another indoor show before one final outdoor show before Vegas. It's we'll see Sunday night in the Forum when they're playing at this level. This has not happened before.
Yeah. And it's only 10 in the morning there, so you need to like find something to do for the next, 6 hours or so.
I'm gonna try to find some ramen. So if anyone out there knows good ramen in LA, which I'm guessing there is, please go ahead and recommend it.
Tweet at Brian at Suffering Juke and tell him where to get ramen. Tim, thank you, Tim, for tuning in.
Thank you, Tim.
And Brian, have an awesome show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is fun.
Great talking with you as always, man.
All right, everybody. See you tomorrow. Peace.